Pride Month series, where we are joined by a very special guest, Senior Advocate Mr. Vivek Sood, to talk on the socio-legal regime for same-sex couples in India. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Let's dive straight into the conversation. With same-sex couples and LGBTQ activists hoping for a positive judgment in their favor, and the government not inclined to legalize the same-sex marriage, what would be your opening thoughts on the issue?
My opening thoughts on the issue would be in favor of the view of the government, the stand of the government. I have all along I have said that the issue raised in this petition, the same-sex marriage petition, lies in the domain of the legislature and not the judiciary. So my opening thoughts would be in favor of the stand taken by the government before the Supreme Court. It should be left to the legislative wisdom, to legislate on this concept or this, I would say this is an important aspect of human behavior, that is the same-sex marriage. So, this can be my opening thought.
Also, for the benefit of our viewers, could you please give a gist of the current case before the Supreme Court?
In my understanding, there are so many petitions that were filed by different stakeholders, including same-sex couples, apart from the NGOs and the activists who are pro same-sex marriage being legally accepted in India. So these bunch of cases, these writ petitions, have come up before the Supreme Court, challenging the non-recognition of same-sex marriages by our law to be unconstitutional. So there is a challenge to the constitutionality of non-legal recognition of same-sex marriages in India. And the main ground of challenge is the violation of Article 21, the right to life and liberty, and Article 14 also, where they have pleaded that same-sex marriage couples should not be discriminated when compared to the hetero-sex-based matrimonial couples between man and woman. So these are the two main arguments taken by all these petitioners in these petitions. And of course, they are relying upon, the evolution of law in advanced democracies like the US, where in many states, same-sex marriages have been legally recognized over a period of time. So this, in my view, is the gist of the petitions that were filed by all these parties, including the same-sex marriage couples, couples who want to marry and who are in relationships. So, there are lawyers also, there are activists also. So this, in my view, is the gist of these petitions for an understanding, by the layman, devoid of any technical legal jargon.
Decriminalization of same-sex relationships to advancing the cause of legalization of same-sex marriages. How has the socio-legal landscape evolved in your view?
In my view, I would like to divide this into three phases or three eras. One was the Indian Penal Code, which criminalized, gay sex, which criminalized homosexuality and lesbian relationships, and that was part of our law for so many decades, for over a century, in fact, well over a century. So that's phase one. And because of the criminalization, because of Section 377, the social ostracism was there in play. The criminalization led to social ostracism, led to isolation, it led to a kind of a hatred towards the same-sex couples. It was socially perceived to be unnatural, against the order of nature. It was, found to be abnormal, unnatural, kinky, and therefore it was not accepted socially. Perhaps it was because of the criminalization of the same-sex relationships or acts between same-sex couples. That's phase one. Phase two is when Navteej Singh Johar defines phase two. When it was when Section 377 IPC was declared unconstitutional insofar as consensual same-sex relationships or acts are concerned. I would say that's phase two. And perhaps we are in phase three currently, where Navteej Singh Johar is percolating into the society. And now the society is very gradually, I would say, it is opening the doors and doors of acceptance of same-sex couples, same-sex relationships. And some of the examples I can give for phase three. Many more people are coming out of the closet and they are openly declaring themselves to be in same-sex relationships. So there is a lot more acceptability in the society. Having said so, it's only the beginning of the third phase, I would say. I would say we are in a transition. The acceptance is, still, it has to percolate into the society, deep into the society. As of now, it may be very restricted to some of the maybe the metropolitan cities or the larger cities. Within them also, you may have a few clubs or a few spaces. I would still say the same sex, they are a part of some islands in our society, small islands, even in big cities. So we are in a transition. We are on the threshold of a transition. And therefore I say it is too early for the judiciary or for the parliament or for any institution to legalize same-sex marriages. It is at a very nascent stage in our social evolution. Let society accept it more fully. By that I mean to say that, when you go to a mall or when you go to a restaurant, when you go to a park or when you travel in the metro, if you find same-sex couples, manifesting their affection for each other, for example, if that is being manifested, when more and more people can accept it, when they can accept it, in a dignified manner, without resorting to any violence or without resorting to any ostracism, without resorting to any hatred towards them. I think that will be a more mature society. That will be the time when we can talk about legalizing same-sex marriages or accepting same-sex marriages. So this is the social evolution that I can see. That is my perception. Many may not agree with me, but that's my view. Because if same-sex marriages were to be legalized as of now, it may lead to a backlash. It may lead to many violent incidents. So therefore, I think the security threat is looming large on same-sex couples. And perhaps, therefore, the parliament is the best forum to decide upon the timing and to decide upon when to legalize it, how to regulate it, how to legalize it.
And we are also talking about a country that is dealing with questions on intercaste and interfaith marriages.
We are still opening up to intercaste marriages, interreligious marriages. We are opening up. You find many more marriages which are, outside the community, the interfaith marriages. It is evolving. The society is maturing. And, things like, the drinking age, for example, in many parts of the country, it is 25 or 21. Then what about the liquor prohibition states? So the society is evolving. Let it evolve, let it mature. And the parliament is the best forum or the institution to legislate on these issues. Whenever the time will mature, whenever the time will come. In my view, it is too premature to accept same-sex marriages. I'm stating it very clearly, but that's my view.
And sir, since you mentioned about Navtej Singh Johar, I'd like to ask you, is the right to marry implicit in our constitution because of that judgment?
Perhaps not in view of that judgment, but I have read another judgment according to which the right to marry has been stated to be a fundamental right. I don't recall that Supreme Court decision, but I recall having read it. Now, there are some passing observations to the effect that right to marry is a fundamental right. Obviously, between man and woman, that is the denominator. Right to marry, doesn't mean man or the same sex marriage. Marriage in our law, in our municipal law, in our law, is still a man-woman relationship under the Hindu Marriage Act or under the personal laws of all religions. It is, it is a man-woman relationship, biological woman relationship.
Legalizing same-sex marriages pose a threat to the dignity of the institution of heterosexual marriages in any way. That was one of the arguments in the court.
In my view, I don't think that it will affect the dignity of heterosexual marriages between biological man and woman. That has its own place. And that has its own place, that has its own dignity. So that dignity will always remain. It will not, in my view, be in any way hit in the event, hypothetically, same-sex marriages were to be accepted. That will also, if as and when that may happen in future, that will have its own place. Why should it affect, the heterosexual marriages and their dignity? In my view, it does not. affect their dignity at all.
And you've already touched upon the question of competence, but I would like to know your thoughts about whether you should legislate or whether it should be under constitutional review, the whole same-sex marriage.
In my view, as of today, it should be left to the wisdom of the parliament. The judiciary should keep its hands off, should follow the hands-off approach at this point of time. However, the Constitution is an ever-evolving document. It is dynamic in nature. It can't be fossilized in pigeonholes. It's not static. It is ever-evolving. So I'm not saying that at no given point of time in future should the judiciary ever interfere in same-sex marriage legalization. All I'm saying is, as of today, the parliament is the institution to decide upon whether same-sex marriages should be upheld, should be legally accepted or not. Maybe in a future point of time, maybe I would not put it in a time frame, but maybe say after 5 years or 10 years, if the parliament does not legislate in its wisdom, maybe a time may come in future that the judiciary will have to take this up as an issue. If it finds that the society has moved and it has accepted same-sex marriages, it is ready to accept the legalization of same-sex marriages, and the parliament is silent on the issue. Maybe a time may come very much into the future that the judiciary may have to decide upon legalizing same-sex marriages. But that is a far-fetched idea, in my view, at this point in time.
I said throughout history, the judiciary has been responsible for ushering historic changes. So there is hope there also.
Yes, but this is too radical at this point of time. And please understand, the gamut of laws that need to be relooked, revisited, adoption laws, domestic violence law, the law of cruelty. Then there are so many, the laws of inheritance. There are so many laws. There are, I think, over 100 laws, perhaps over 150 laws that need to be relooked and revisited. So it's a mammoth exercise. It's a mammoth legislative exercise. If the judiciary today, if the Supreme Court was to legalize same-sex marriage, I would call it, a clear case of judicial legislation, judiciary legislating and going beyond its domain of adjudication, at least at this point in time.
All right, coming to the potential solutions now, I'd like to know from you, what would be the right approach? Would amending the Special Marriage Act be a solution?
In my view, that is not the solution, because I repeat, so many laws need to be relooked, need to be revisited, because essentially laws have classified gender between biological man and biological woman. Now, the moment you want to change that and you want to make it gender neutral, so many laws will have to be amended. And that exercise of amendment is best left to the wisdom of the legislature and not the judiciary. I repeat, it's a mammoth exercise. It's a time-consuming exercise. Let there be a debate. Let there be a far and wide debate in the state assemblies, in the municipal bodies, at the RWA level. We are a democracy. We are a vibrant democracy. India is the mother of democracies, where we enjoy free speech, liberty. Let there be a debate from the grassroots level, the panchayat level, to the parliament, through the state assemblies, through RWA, so many forums, colleges, schools, institutions, professions. Let there be multiple debates before the society can arrive at some kind of a consensus. More than consensus, let's forget about the consensus. At least social acceptance has to be there. By social acceptance, I feel, no ostracism, no violence. Assuming same-sex marriages were to be legalized and assuming there are incidents of violence, suppose a same-sex marriage couple, they were to celebrate their marriage, in the public domain. Do you think there would be no ostracism? You think there is no risk of violence? Any kind of, murders and all kinds of violent incidents can take place. I see as a criminal side lawyer for about 3 decades now, I can see that, it could be a major security threat to the same-sex marriage couples. If that was to be legalized today, let the time come. Its time will come. I'm not against, same-sex marriage or same-sex relationships. I'm not against the concept. But for the concept to be applied to India, it will take its time. We can't just copy paste what is happening in several states in the United States of America and other countries. There also, it has evolved over a period of time. It didn't happen in a day, or in a year. It has evolved. I as a lawyer, I as a constitutional expert, I as a citizen of India, I believe in, the fundamental right to us by the Constitution, in the freedom of speech and expression, the right to life and liberty, the right against discrimination. I believe in all the fundamental rights, and therefore, yes, I accept, the judgment in Navteej Singh Johar. I am all for freedom, but the freedom has to be regulated appropriately. The freedom has to be legislated at an appropriate point of time. And the parliament, I repeat, is the best institution to do this, and not the judiciary.
Can we have a declaration of the marital relationship by LGBT couples through an affidavit without amending laws? Is that a possibility?
I think this is oversimplifying the matter. I don't think that may be the correct approach. I repeat, all this is for the parliament to debate and come out with, concrete solutions. The parliament is the best institution that we have. It is the most democratic institution that we have. Let there be a debate. Let the parliament in its wisdom, decide upon all these issues.
Okay, so coming to the end of the discussion, same-sex couples in essence are asking for day-to-day rights, basically. This is what I understand. Day-to-day rights like pension, provident fund, filling up forms. So, can there be a situation?
Perhaps a beginning can be made on this account. And again, I would say that the legislature and the executive should make the first move. And perhaps the judiciary can prod the legislature and the executive, to move in that direction. At least, at the basic level of, getting a passport made, or, or filling up these forms, or for insurance policies, for getting mediclaims, etc. Some beginnings could be made, should be made, in my view.
So, do you see something?
Legalizing same-sex marriage is a far-fetched idea, in my view, at this point of time. Having said that, some beginnings should be made.
So, do you see something short of legalizing same-sex marriages coming up to extend the benefits to the LGBTQ community?
Even without recognizing the same-sex marriages legally, a host of benefits can be given, to the same-sex marriage couples, who are in a relationship, or as individuals. Those steps can be taken and should be taken, in my view. But we have to follow a slow and steady approach. Slow and steady wins the race. You can't jump and do something which is perceived as radical in the society today.
And your last word on legal profession as a catalyst for social change?
Definitely, the legal profession has always been, at the helm of all constitutional issues, especially with respect to fundamental rights. And, I must say that all the petitioners, all the activists who have taken up this cause in the Supreme Court, the effort is laudable. The effort is very positive. And they must all be given due credit for taking up this cause before the Supreme Court, making it a national issue, making it an issue which is being talked about, which is being debated, in the drawing rooms, or in all forums, in all places. People are talking about it. People are debating about it. It's all because of these petitions. But having said that, I repeat, these are premature petitions, at least insofar as any concrete result is concerned. In my view, I repeat, it should be left to the legislative wisdom of the parliament, and the judiciary should keep its hands off this issue at this point of time. Let the society evolve. Let there be a national debate. Let us accept, the LGBT community in our day-to-day lives across the spectrum, not only in metropolitan cities, also in the villages, also in smaller towns, small districts. Once that has happened, then we can talk about marriage.
I think times are changing. I just read about a marriage in Calcutta where the whole theme was painted in rainbow. So people are coming out, but these are only a few examples.
Yes.
And as you rightly pointed out, sir, the society needs to evolve. And I think the West also took its time to evolve. So we are a very young generation in that respect.
Yes.
So thank you so much for your time, sir. I was taking notes actually.
Thank you for bringing me on this forum. And it was the questions were very interesting. And I really enjoyed this being on this platform. Thank you.